Hi everybody. I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about what it's like to volunteer for the crisis text line. So first of all, if you're going to volunteer, the first thing you have to do is go on the website and click on the Want to Volunteer tab. So you go on there, you have to read information and basically sign up, and you have to fill out some things. And then what you have to do is you have to have 2 references. And what's interesting about the crisis text line is you have to pick 2 people that you've worked for before who can, give you a good recommendation. So you pick those 2 people and you give them crisis text line, you give them the email address. So instead of calling these references to double check on them, make sure everything's good, what happens is they go ahead and they send those people an email. Those people read the email and then they go ahead and fill out some stuff. I hadn't officially seen the emails with the references people get, but I heard what it said. And basically this person seemed like, they'd be good for this. Do they have the time to volunteer? All the basic questions, is a good person, everything like that. You have to go through around 30 hours or more of training. And I was like, okay, this is going to be easy. There's, how hard could it be? And at first I thought that the volunteers were texting on their cell phones, because I was like, okay, well, I'm a fast texter. I can totally text people. And when I did that, and then after you get approved for everything, they tell you that you have to have a computer or a laptop in order to do it all. So I was like, okay, so I go ahead and I do that, and you have to watch videos, and you have to watch videos, and then you have to answer questions. And some of them are multiple choice, but the further you go, they have some that are questions that I was taking all these notes. I mean, it was crazy. It was so time consuming. And like, you have to ask open-ended questions. They don't want you asking closed-ended questions. So an open-ended question would be, so tell me about what kind of things in the past have helped you cope. And instead of that, a closed-ended question would be like, do you have any good coping skills? Is there some, just something with like a yes or no answer. Is there things that you do? And they're like, yes, I have coping skills. Well, that doesn't fly with crisis text line. So in the computer, you have to actually, when you log on, there's a platform, which is your entire computer screen, and you have to go on, you have to sign in. And then there's a little tab at the top left, and basically you click on help another texter. So when you click that, a little pop-up screen comes up on your screen, and then what you see is that you see the person's just a random anonymous, and then like 8 numbers afterwards. So you don't even know the people's names or anything. And you're supposed to risk assess every person that texts in. So you have to ask them, with everything you're dealing with right now, are you thinking about wanting to kill yourself? You can't say, are you thinking about committing suicide, because that's a negative connotation. So we can kind of get in trouble for asking that, but you have to ask them, are you feeling suicidal? You have to ask them, if they're like, yes. Then your next question is going to be, you have to try to word it in there, and you'd be like, okay, well, have you thought about how you're going to do it? And then someone says, yeah, I want to hang myself. Then we have to find a way to get in there and ask the person, well, do you have something that you would use to hang yourself? And if they say, yes, I have a belt or a rope or anything, then you have to ask them if they have a time frame. So if they have a time frame within 24 hours, then you have to report it to your supervisor. In the meantime, you're texting with these people and you're trying to get them talked down and give them some coping skills. Now, one of the things a lot of people don't know is that since you're using your laptop, the supervisors can actually see your conversation. They can see it. And so you don't always know when your supervisor's seen the conversation, when they're not. So that's something that we have to do. And basically with all of my conversations, I've had, you know, a handful or more that are imminent risk, which means they meet all 4 of the criteria. So basically you just try to talk them down. You get them to say, okay, I'm willing to try listening to music or journaling or all these other things. So you get them talked down. But sometimes you get those texters who might wait 5 or more minutes in between texts, and that gets like really boring. One of the other things that people don't know about crisis counselors is, first of all, we don't get paid. It's volunteer. Now, I'd say over 95 to 98% are people who volunteer, get nothing in return, except for the satisfaction of knowing that they've helped improve someone else's day. So that's pretty much it. And we get these messages on email or text. Once you've hit a certain amount of conversations, you can get these notifications, and they'll be like, hey, there's a lot of people in line. They call it a queue. And when it gets a lot of people in line, they'll send a note out and be like, hey, can you help for a little while? So you don't even have to respond. You just log on, you message your supervisor, hey, I'm here to help. They'll say, okay, great, thanks. Let me know if you need any help. You click on the help the texter button, and you help the texter. Now, if you're one of those people who's really good at it and knows everything, then there are options to take more than one conversation at a time. And that's where it gets tricky, because you can click the conversation and then click help another texter. And when there's extremely long lines, they want you to take more than one texter at a time, because there's so many people texting in. So it can be a little overwhelming at times when you're trying to deal with one person and they have this whole story going on, and then you're talking to person B and they have this whole story going on. I mean, I've had some conversations that have lasted over 2 hours. Over 2 hours. Crisis text line are also mandated reporters. So therefore, if you refuse to agree to safety plan, if you've admitted that you're feeling suicidal in the next 24 hours, they will, I haven't had to deal with it myself because I've been able to talk people down, but they are able to notify EMS to come to the person's house. They call it an active rescue. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Like, I mean, it's so amazing to be able to help other people throughout their day. We are not robots. Although there are some messages in the system, they teach you how they want you to word sentences. They teach you, well, it seems like this is the way you're feeling, or I'm hearing that, you know, A, B, C, D, E, is that right? Things like that are pretty much how it goes. So if you feel like a lot of the crisis counselors talk the same way, that's because of all the training we've gone through. We have to do it that way. It's not really a choice. And one of the other things that is really challenging for me is that we're not allowed to give advice. And that was all, like, that was kind of like, that's frustrating for me, because being able to tell someone, well, why don't you try coloring? You should color. You should write in a journal. Do this. It's those kind of conversations that are going to get you trouble and get you written up pretty much on crisis text line. You don't want to get a negative message from a supervisor or for your coach that does your training about that kind of a thing. So those are some of the struggles. If you have any more questions or want to know anything else, please comment down below. I will be keeping an eye on everything. If some comments or questions get a lot of likes, or a lot of people have questions on a specific part of the crisis text line training, let me know. Comment below, and if there's so many, I'll make another video to answer all your questions even more. But the crisis counselors do not have access to the person's name when they first text in. They don't have access to the person's phone number when they first text in. They don't even have access to the person's city, state, zip, anything. So those are kind of things. It is really confidential. We're not supposed to disclose specific things about different conversations, although there are a lot of conversations that are general, and if you guys have a lot of questions, I could answer some of those questions down below or make another video. So that's pretty much it. So I'm here for you. Bye.